Now, the outgoing Sri Lankan president Rajapaksa has fled to the Maldives. Sources suggest that the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the First Lady, along with 2 bodyguards, were subjected to a full approval by the Ministry of Defence for immigration, customs and other laws to fly to the Maldives. An Air Force aircraft was provided to them early this morning for them to flee. Now, reports suggest that they landed in Malé a short while ago. They arrived in the capital at Malé, in fact, at 3 a.m. local time. Mr. Rajapaksa's departure, of course, finally, hopefully ends the turmoil that we are seeing in the country. He sat as head of the government in Sri Lanka as it is suffering its worst economic crisis. Now, pictures on your screen are of how intense the resentment to Gotabaya Rajapaksa has been. We saw protesters storm the presidential palace, and thereafter, of course, they have camped over there. Apart from that, protesters still taking to the streets in Colombo. We are now joined by Lahiru Dolaslawa, our correspondent in Colombo. Lahiru, you were, of course, a short while ago taking us through the fact that all the necessary protocols were followed by the Ministry of Defence before his departure. But give us a sense of what's happening in Colombo right now, and how are people reacting to the news of him having finally fled the country and left power, in a sense?
So people aren't very much happy that he has not yet given his resignation letter, and so far the Speaker's office has also confirmed that the President has not yet given his resignation letter, or he has appointed an acting president. So people are very much speculative, and they are also in suspicion that he is going to stay there and something is going to be done to the protesters and he is going to return. So people are still surprised and people are still questioning where is his resignation letter. The protesters gave an ultimatum. They told the media and everyone in the world that the president has only time till 1 p.m. to resign. If he does not resign by 1 p.m., they are going to come to the streets and they are going to make sure that the president resigns.
Right, but Lahiru, obviously, that sort of resentment and skepticism, whether he's resigned finally or not, is obvious because he's held on to power for the longest time now. But what do you think will it take for people to believe that he's actually fled the country, perhaps has no intentions of coming back in the short span of time at least? And what do you think is essentially going to make them be reassured that perhaps the next steps now are almost in place?
See, people are still, they are very suspicious of the Rajapaksas. First of all, people were calling them not to be escaped, to hold them accountable for their crimes, for their corruption. They wanted them to be in trial in Sri Lanka. They wanted justice for the stolen money. But now the Rajapaksas have apparently fled the country, and people are very much disappointed that they couldn't catch them before they left the country. But they are still in suspicion that the Rajapakshas will come to Sri Lanka again and have a power base in Sri Lanka again, which is why they are still calling on the president to resign as soon as possible. And also opposition parties are calling on the president to fire the prime minister, because if the president resigns, the prime minister will be appointed as the acting president, and opposition leaders and also the protesters, they do not want Ranil Wickremesinghe as the president.
All right, do stay with us. Our correspondent Saloni, who's over there, sent us this report a short while ago.